Live from our studio here in Kokomlemle, Accra, this is Joy News Prime with me, Samuel Kojo Brace. Coming up this hour, NDC to formally petition Parliament and Special Prosecutor to investigate the Frimpong Boateng Galamsey report.
The Special Prosecutor on his part must act with alacrity by probing the Frimpong Boateng Galamsey report and prosecute all government officials, MPP functionaries, and persons who have perpetrated serious crimes against the state as contained in the report.
More as the party hit hard at government as it describes government's fight against Galamsey as a mere charade.
By the German-trained cardiothoracic surgeon shows clearly that the so-called fight against Galamsey was a charade.
Also, President Akufo-Addo calls for aggressive and workable solution to address the activities of pirates operating in the Gulf of Guinea as the United Nations warns the continuous seizure of ships, kidnapping and other vices could have dire economic consequences for the region, including Ghana.
It's important that we have some serious discussion on these items in order to come up with strategies geared towards strengthening peace and security and winning the fight against maritime-related crimes in the region.
And I had no intention of killing her. Policeman who shot lover multiple times in the Ashanti region cries out. We have more as police prosecution tells the court the accused demanded a refund of 5,000 cedis he allegedly paid the deceased at a meeting in the presence of a female friend on the day of the shooting.
Na ye nima de property be wo no baye na me na ma be hu so no anu muton aka se 50 million enti no abonu tuaku no na ne is masa 50 million pa just 5,000 enti no chi nipa ne kwa free wiase.
The opposition National Democratic Congress has called on the special prosecutor to launch full-scale investigations into the allegations of money laundering and illicit gold trade by element in the Akufo-Addo Bawumia NPP government contained in a recent AI Al Jazeera documentary. The party has also demanded similar investigations into a leaked cabinet report by erstwhile Environment Minister and Chairman of the Interministerial Committee Against Illegal Mining, IMCIM, Professor Kwabena Frimpong Boateng. Addressing a press conference at the party's headquarters on Tuesday, National Communications Officer of the NDC, Sami Jemfi, made references to a recent documentary by international news network Al Jazeera into the activities of a gold smuggling syndicate operating in various African countries, including Ghana. The NDC alleges that there exists a relationship between the deadly racket and the president of Ghana and other high-ranking officials of the ruling MPP government.
We in the National Democratic Congress are deeply concerned about the damning revelations about our president in the latest documentary by Al Jazeera. The continuous naming of the president and his vice in all manner of bribe-taking syndicates must be a cause for concern for every patriotic Ghanaian who cares about the image of the presidency. Never in the history of this country, and I repeat, never in the history of this country has the presidency been so depraved and reduced to a criminal mafia as we are witnessing today. As has become standard practice under the Akufo-Addo Bawumia NPP government, the presidency has kept a deafening silence on this matter in the wake of the damning revelations contained in the Al Jazeera documentary. Given the record and penchant of this government to cover up grafts, Ghanaians cannot and must not accept silence or the usual flippant denials emanating from the corridors of power. It is against this backdrop that the NDC hereby wishes to call on the special prosecutor to take keen interest in this matter and launch a full-scale investigation into this matter with the aim of prosecuting anyone found culpable. Additionally, given the considerable public interest in this matter and what it portends for Ghana's image among the Global Committee of Nations, we wish to call on Parliament, the representatives of the people, to set up a publicly televised and bipartisan probe into this matter in order to ascertain the truth.
He also described Akufo-Addo's fight against Galamsey as a mere charade, asking Parliament to institute a publicly televised and bipartisan inquiry into the report.
As we in the NDC have always maintained, President Akufo-Addo's proclaimed fight against Galamsey was the biggest scam ever to be perpetrated on Ghanaians. Today, the NDC stands vindicated, as a report authored by the German-trained cardiothoracic surgeon and former Minister of Environment and Science, Professor Frimpong Boateng, has all but confirmed our long-held opinion that there has never been any genuine commitment or any attempts to fight Galamsey by the Akufo-Addo Bawumia MPP government. The said report by the German-trained cardiothoracic surgeon shows clearly that the so-called fight against Galamsey was a charade calculated to enable top government and MPP functionaries to appropriate and take over the illicit Galamsey trade. We are of the view that the only way to establish the truth and get to the bottom of the issues contained in the Professor Frimpong Boateng Galamsey report is for Parliament to institute a publicly televised and bipartisan inquiry into this report, which essentially is an obituary of President Akufo-Addo's monumentally failed fight against illegal mining.
Well, so this matter borders on the small-scale mining sector, and the Ghana Small-Scale Mining Association believes this is a worrying development that must get every Ghanaian to insist on leadership to do the right things. Joining us on the telephone is the Financial Director of the Ghana Small-Scale Association, Francis Opoko. Grateful to you that you could join us here. Now, you believe that this is a very disturbing situation. You are on the field. What have you seen to make you conclude that this is a disturbing situation?
Let me say good evening to you and your cherished viewers and listeners across the globe. To us as Ghana National Association of Small Scale Miners, and to me in particular, the content of this report is not only sad and disgracing, it's also disturbing. Disturbing in the sense that, when we hear of people who are in a position of trust and are supposed to discharge their duties diligently, who end up perpetrating the same crime as alleged, then there's a problem. And this is why we as small-scale miners feel that it's high time as Ghanaians we interrogate these issues thoroughly and then come out with an acceptable solution to this problem once and for all.
But is it a case that you also do see some of these political elements, meddling in the Galamsey business that we are fighting against?
Obviously, in our account, there's an adage that some safety in so move a catch to which if a close friend of a crocodile come out and tell us that the crocodile is dead, we don't have to argue with it. So, looking at the eminent professor, as our president will always describe him, coming out with these allegations or with this report, and nobody is coming out to even accept any of the allegations he raised, then there's a question. And this is typical of most of our politicians. They don't tell the truth. So, I mean, why would you say that the person of this stature will raise all this, I mean, numerous people alleged to be perpetrating or behind these happenings, and no one has come out to admit it? Fine, we don't expect them to admit it, but the question is that small-scale mining, let us note, that is a legal business. So we feel sad because you see, we are expecting that people like those whose names have been mentioned, whom we know, the association members, I mean, we know that these people, a lot of them are truly involved in it, to come out and tell the whole Ghanaians that this business is a legal business, it's born out of law, it's born out of acts of parliament, and so they are supposed to be a model. But they end up distancing themselves from the sector. Meanwhile, the sector that is giving lots of them money to even finance their political parties.
But what you're talking about is different from Galamsey, of which the professor says a lot of them are involved in it. You are talking about legal small-scale mining, but the professor says a lot of them are involved in Galamsey. Two different things. Is that not it?
That is it. But you see, what is happening is that people don't even want to identify themselves with the legal small-scale mining.
Okay.
But let me touch on the issue of the issues raised against them.
Okay.
A lot of the issues raised against them is in connection with mining in the forest reserve.
Okay.
And this is where their influences are felt more. The political influences. I call it political Galamsey.
Okay. Thank you very much. I'm grateful that you could spend some time with us. Now, let's stay a bit longer on this particular matter because the Member of Parliament for South Dai has petitioned the Commission for Human Rights and Administrative Justice Shraj to investigate claims of corruption against top government officials and allies facilitating or actively engaging in illegal mining. In a 36-page document, former chair of the Interministerial Committee on Illegal Mining, Professor Kwabena Frimpong Boateng, claimed that some top government officials, including personnel at the presidency, members of parliament and cabinet ministers, were thwarting efforts to end illegal mining. Already, the presidency has described the report as a catalogue of personal grievances and without fact. Now, however, the member of parliament for South Dai, Roxanne Nelson Dafiamapo, believes the content of the document are not mere allegations. He has therefore petitioned Shraj to probe the persons named in the report, including the author of the document. My colleague Michael Ashley spoke with the lawyer for the parliamentarian, Ni Papo Samoa Ado.
Oh, so just a few minutes to 1 p.m., lawyers for South Dai MP, Dafiamapo, came to Shraj to present a petition here. I have the lawyer here. Let me ask him just a few questions that have come out of it. So we have seen the reports that you have made reference to, that you are trying to petition Shraj to look through. Correct. But from what we have seen from the presidency in itself, the presidency says this, at best, this is a catalogue of personal grievances. Why do you think there's substance in this report for which you are petitioning Shraj?
And this is even why it is even a perfect time for us to come to Shraj. Because clearly the president has given a signal that he's not interested in the report. We think that as a former minister of environment, he is a man of stature. Professor Boateng is not just any ordinary person. And the allegations he makes are not bare allegations. These are allegations that he has supported with facts, letters. And in fact, in his other two responses he made, he added more facts, more letters. And so this is somebody that we believe, given the proper forum, independent forum, where he knows he has no fear for his life and he knows he will be protected, which Shraj has the mandate to do, I'm sure he will even give us more. We cannot brush this under the carpet. Unfortunately, we cannot agree with the president that this is something that can be brushed under the carpet. We refuse to brush it under the carpet because this is not an issue that is simply one for us to just take for granted. This is not one of the things that you, as they say, he can clear. This is a matter that borders on life and death. This is a matter that touches our water bodies. This is a matter that touches on the economic rights of the people that are in those areas affected. Farming, for example. All those areas are complaining about farming issues. The fact that their farming and cash crops are being destroyed. The pollution of the soil, the pollution of the water, bodies. These are human rights matters. And so I'm sorry. But if the president thinks that this is hearsay, we disagree with him. That is why we've come to the Commission on Human Rights and Administrative Justice, and we expect to get justice.
Again, you haven't spoken to the part about whether you think it has substance. The presidency again says that
obviously
there's no evidence in it that substantiates some of the allegations made.
It is not for the president to make that determination. He has looked at the report and he says that, in his opinion, he doesn't see any merit in it, and that he talked about issues of transmission of the report and how the report should have been. We don't care about that. We care about the substance in the allegations. There are serious allegations, and we believe that the Shraj will bear it out. We have no personal grievance against anybody, but the point is this: the Honorable Member of Parliament has oversight responsibility. He has seen the report. He believes that the report contains enough basis for investigations, and luckily, the architecture of our constitution has made it clear that when it comes to allegations of corruption, abuse of public office, and human rights violations, it is not the presidency that we go to. It's a charge that we come to. And that is why we are here.
Now, how soon do you expect something meaningful to come out of this petition?
Soon. We have an acknowledgement letter we expect from the Shraj tomorrow. We intend to be here every week. And so every week you will find me here, following up, asking questions, because we expect public hearings to begin. All we have is to meet the threshold of have enough to be able to investigate it. Once Shraj begins to write to us and deal with the matters, we will make this a public issue. This matter is not going to go away. If anybody for any moment thinks that this matter is going to go away, it's a lie.
Shraj has acknowledged receipt of this particular petition and says it will accord the petition all the seriousness that it deserves. He's been speaking on Top Story to my colleague, Evans Mingsa.
We received it and we are studying it. The next steps will be to acknowledge it tomorrow, and then we'll determine whether by an interim assessment or an initial assessment, whether the allegations that have been made really trigger the mandates of the Commission.
And how do you come to making that judgment on whether or not to proceed or just terminate it at the initial stage?
It depends on what is in the petition and what has been attached as part of the documents which were brought in by the petition. After studying them, we may undertake a preliminary investigation. We may even invite the lawyer for further and better particulars in respect of aspects of the petition. When we are satisfied that clear allegations have been made which trigger any of the mandates of the Commission, we would then proceed to determine who are the respondents in this particular case. Because, the report is quite broad, touches so many people, and so the ones who are germane will certainly be the ones we will look for. And then we would request them to make any comments that they have, of course, as natural justice will require. And then the next steps will be determined by the procedures of the Commission.
And just a bit on the strategy on Monday, because this has to do with illegal mining, Galamsey, and people's alleged involvement in largely allegations of destruction of the environment. What would you tell those who say, does this necessarily fall within the purview of Shraj?
Well, I can give you a general answer because it's a matter that we're yet to go into. But as a matter of rights, the environmental rights exist. They are rights by themselves, which public officers and public institutions owe to the people of Ghana. And so to the extent that fiduciary relationships have been established between public officials in terms of their role in safeguarding the environment, if allegations have been made, those allegations certainly will be triggering the human rights mandate. But as I said, I'm speaking generally, if it comes to the petition, we'll look at the specifics of the petition and to what extent they trigger which aspects of the human rights mandate in respect of the environment.
Does the fact that this is such a high-profile matter that went before the president involves, ministers, a former one who altered it, was a chair of a committee the president himself set up, does it change anything? Does it change your approach? Does it expedite it further? Does it add extra spice to your work that you're doing?
This is a constitutional body. We will perform our mandate as required of us by the Constitution. Whether the matter came before the president or not does not necessarily add any more weight or reduce the weight on it.
And any timelines you expect for this to fall within?
Looking at the quantum, the sheer size of the petition and the accompanying documents, and the possibility that we'll be getting back to the lawyers, if any, and then the preliminary investigation, I cannot put my hand on it. But I think, given the public interest that Ghanaians have over this protracted matter, we would, within the means available to the Commission, give it the deserved attention that this particular Galamsey issues, which have bedeviled the public space, deserve.
So that's Joseph Wattal, Commissioner of Shraj, speaking to my colleague Evans Mingsa on Joy 99.7 FM. Now, away from that story into other stories, President Akufo-Addo has called for an aggressive and workable solution to address the activities of pirates operating in the Gulf of Guinea. Now, seizure of ships, kidnapping, and murders have become dominant feature on the Gulf by miscreants parading as pirates. Over the last 15 years, container ships, fishing vessels, and oil tankers in the region have been the target of these people. Of the 90 global piracy and armed robbery incidents reported between January and September 2022, 13 have been reported in the Gulf of Guinea region, compared to 27 over the same period in 2021. Addressing a conference of the Gulf of Guinea Commission, President Akufo-Addo said the affected countries, including Ghana, must work together to reverse the trend.
Excellencies, I've taken advantage of this extraordinary meeting to bring up for discussion two issues that are of great importance to our region. Firstly, the issue of finding means of making our region a safe, secure, and prosperous one. And secondly, the deliberation on whether it is in our collective interest to enlarge the Gulf of Guinea Commission so that we will have, as member states, all the coastal states of West and Central Africa, from Cape Verde to Angola, instead of only the coastal states of the geographical Gulf of Guinea region, from Cote d'Ivoire to Angola, as is currently set out in the 2001 treaty establishing the Gulf of Guinea Commission. There will then be the need to amend this treaty to reflect this new development if it is so accepted. These are the items for our agenda for the closed-door session. It is important that we have some serious discussion on these items in order to come up with strategies geared towards strengthening peace and security and winning the fight against maritime-related crimes in the region, such as piracy, illegal, unreported, and unregulated fishing, arms trafficking, pollution of the environment, smuggling, fuel and crude oil theft. We shall continue to work to address these maritime security issues to help curtail and eradicate the menace caused by these acts of criminality in the region, so as to build a safe, secure, and prosperous Gulf of Guinea region for sustainable development.
Bordering 20 countries with some 6,000 kilometers of coastline, the Gulf of Guinea is a key shipping route for a region that relies heavily on imports. This is why the cost of piracy weighs so heavily on the region's economic and trade potential, with direct and indirect costs estimated at $1.925 billion annually for 12 Gulf of Guinea countries. The threat level in the Gulf of Guinea region remains high, as highlighted by the United Nations Security Council resolution unanimously adopted in May 2022. Ghana's Foreign Minister Shirley Ayoko Boche says the time to act is now.
Pipeline vandalism, trafficking, and maritime terrorism that continue to pose significant threats to the economic lifeline of landlocked and coastal countries of the Gulf of Guinea. Cognizant that this situation is not curbed would make sea transportation riskier, deadly, and expensive for all countries along the Gulf of Guinea. The closed-door session of the summit is therefore designed to enable us to discuss strategies for strengthening peace and security in our fight against maritime-related crimes in the region, as well as to deliberate on the text of the Commission with the hope of expanding the scope of definitions to allow for accession by other countries in the Gulf of Guinea region. As I conclude, I'm optimistic that during the closed-door session, we can explore options like the establishment of common laws. For example, a common close fishing season for the territorial zones across the region that would aim in the conservation of the resources of the sea for the benefit of citizens of countries of the Gulf of Guinea.
Now, outgoing Executive Secretary of the Gulf of Guinea Commission, Florentina Adineke Okonga, outlined some of the challenges facing the Commission.
In spite of these modest achievements, Your Excellencies, the challenges are enormous and sometimes overwhelming. We have a lack of timely response to issues of concern raised by the GGC that warrants timely response. Nominations to different committees. The meeting of the Specialized Committee on Finance and Administration could not hold as scheduled early this year because of few responses from member states. We did not form a quorum. Lack of participation at statutory meetings and other meetings of the GGC at appropriate levels. Lack of payment of contribution as and when due, which leads to non-organization of proposed meetings or seminars as previously scheduled. Also, lack of payment of contributions will lead to delays in payment of salaries and organizing the activities planned to be carried out in the course of the year. Lack of funds to recruit more professionals required to fill the minimum staff level approved for the Commission since 2010. Lack of adequate headquarters buildings to give visibility to the GGC in the host country. This matter has been taken up on several occasions with the host authorities, and the promise is always it is being looked into, it shall be addressed. The GGC has moved 3 times since its establishment, and facilities already installed are lost or damaged in the course of movement and change of address. No repairs of 3 out of the 5 residencies provided by the executive members, despite the promise made since 2013 that the refurbishment of the houses will take only 3 months. It is now 10 years, and 3 of those residencies are not yet repaired. The GGC does not have the money to undertake such extensive.
Now we're joined via Zoom by the CEO of the Center for Maritime Law and Security, Dr. Kamaldeen Ali. Grateful, Doc, for joining us here. Now, you've listened to the heads of state in the Gulf region and how they intend to fight this, because this is, quite a challenge on our hands here. What's your reaction to all the actions that they want to take to deal with this threat?
Yeah, thank you very much. And then to also your viewers. I think the first point to put on record is that piracy has actually declined in the region. When we are talking about piracy, it has declined in the region. If we look at the peak that we reached in 2020, and since 2020, there has been a lot of decline. So we are far from the 2020 figures. What we seem to have for much part of 2022 and from the latter part of 2022 to 2023 are issues general of petty stealing, although there has been some hijackings in the region. Notwithstanding, the piracy threat remains as a considerable one that must be addressed. It disrupts sea lines of communication and affects the economies of the country. They've also outlined other maritime-related crimes or issues. They are equally important, and some of them may even be more important to our communities and our economy compared to piracy. In the speech from the president and some of the dignitaries, they have indicated the measures that are necessary to address piracy and other maritime crime. The significant thing is to understand the infrastructure that underpin piracy. We have both the hard and soft infrastructure. So in order to address maritime crime, you must have a clear understanding of the spectrum of that particular infrastructure. You have the hard part. The hard part will be what you find when pirates go to sea and they hijack vessel. But there are soft dimensions to that particular infrastructure. For example, what facilitates it? When they hijack or kidnap people, who keeps them? Where are the ransom paid? who will launder the ransom, who will move the ransom, what are the other permissive things that makes it difficult to gather intelligence to counter piracy. So we can put all this together in what we call the piracy infrastructure, and you must have a clear understanding of this spectrum in order to address piracy effectively.
In the next minute for me, how should the collaboration be such that we can win over this whole piracy threat in the region?
There are ongoing efforts already. We have the Yaoundé architecture that has been set up across the Gulf of Guinea. And one of the most pivotal things in the Yaoundé architecture is addressing piracy. Here in Ghana, for example, we host Zone F of the Yaoundé architecture that looks into maritime security space from Ghana all the way to Sierra Leone. But there are also other important things to do. For example, take the country Ghana. Whereas we are talking about piracy, up till now, we have been in the process for some years now, but we still haven't concluded a solid legal framework that can help us prosecute piracy. For a country like Ghana, therefore, one of the principal things that our executives, our parliament should do is to make sure that that process that is underway of legal reform to ensure that we have the requisite legal framework, that we conclude that, and that will give Ghana the mandate to be able to prosecute piracy. So these are some of the things that we can do in order to effectively handle the piracy threat in the region.
Recently, there was some installation of equipment on larger vessels to help in dealing with this whole piracy thing. What should the approach be to all of this? Because you had the past commissioner there talking about maintenance of these equipment. We've installed them to help us deal with it, but how should we approach them from here onwards?
Did you mean the commissioner for Gulf of Guinea, the ambassador for Gulf of Guinea?
In Ghana, we recently installed some equipment on larger vessels to deal with it. I'm asking, taking a cue from what she said about maintenance, what should be our approach from onwards?
Okay, the equipment that have been installed in Ghana will bring an added value. The primary intent is not to address piracy. These are fishing vessels, and you want to make sure that you monitor the fishing vessel and the fishing activities. But there is an added value that the monitoring equipments and the cameras can also address other maritime crimes. But if you take it from the language of the executive director of the Gulf of Guinea Commission, it is clear that there are serious issues within the Gulf of Guinea Commission. There are funding issues, there are capability issues, there's technical expertise. So these issues must be addressed first and foremost before the commission itself can be functional and can then say it is working with states to address these maritime crimes. She has indicated quite a lot of them to the extent that you will ask yourself how functional, how strong is the commission, and whether the commission is indeed delivering its mandate. So these things must be addressed for the commission or by the commission in order to make it functional. Then we can look at member states also doing the things that are necessary to add up to the commission's mandate to address piracy, maritime crime, and ensure maritime security.
Thank you so much for joining us, Doc, here. Now, moving on to other stories. Some certified physician assistants have been arrested by the police for picketing the Ministry of Health in protest against their delayed postings after 5 years of completing their course of study. According to them, despite several engagements with the ministry, there appears to be no sign of commitment from the ministry to get them employed, a reason they have resorted to the picketing. But they were sacked from the premises of the ministry while their leadership was arrested by the police. Samuel Mbura was at the Ministry of Health and reports.
These physician assistants, numbering over 50, came here as early as 9 a.m. in their numbers. They came from different regions with the main aim of getting or putting pressure on the Ministry of Health to absorb them. They say since 2018, the portal has been closed, and after completing school, life has been a hell for them. And that is why they are left with no reason than to come and picket, to show or to send a signal that they are not happy about the situation and that the health ministry should do something about it. But to their dismay, 3 of their colleagues were arrested and sent to the police, and the police have told them to disperse, else they will exert brute force on them. They are not quite happy about how they have been treated, and they think that the police could have acted more professional than they did.
But it's very sad because we are living in a country where police feels they can use their guns to intimidate health professionals. It is very pathetic because if the police wanted to communicate something to us, they could have done it in a more professional way than trying to use their guns to intimidate us.
Very unfortunate, totally unfortunate. We are Ghanaians and it is our right to picket. It is our right to demonstrate if things are not going on well. And so if the ordinary physician assistant who has qualified to practice medicine and dentistry in Ghana, and after 5 years of qualification is still at home, not doing anything, is coming to peacefully demonstrate and picket. And then the police says that we should leave and as a matter of fact, arrested our leaders. Then it's very unfortunate.
Bas speaks for the Ministry of Health, and we have him via Zoom now. Isaac, I'm grateful that you could join us here. So why arrest the leadership, people who are not picketing with guns? They are only there to register their displeasure.
Yes, good evening and good evening to your cherished viewers. One, the reason for the arrest of the leadership is something that I will reserve for the police service to respond to that. However, they were led here this morning by the same police officers. They came with the same police to come and inform us that they wanted to submit a petition to the ministry. We were not aware. Nobody informed us of their coming. All we know was that they came in their numbers with the police accompanying them. We welcomed them, and then we received the petition on behalf of the Honorable Minister. Even though the Honorable Minister was not available at the moment, management made themselves available to receive the petition on behalf of the Honorable Minister. So that when the Honorable Minister comes back, we would inform him or convey their message to him.
Okay. Now, the crux of the crux of their petition is that they've been home for over 5 years. They haven't been employed. They have been engaging you, the ministry, but they don't see any commitment coming from you. Why are these people not employed as of now, when we know that we do have deficit when it comes to personnel to work at our various health posts?
Yes, that is why the Honorable Minister himself met the leadership of this same group about a month ago. And then the Honorable Minister, Honorable Kojo, made it clear to them that he himself is going to lead to ensure that they are back or they are employed so that they can be posted to their various places of work to start work. Now, what happened is that this group are under the Medical and Dental Council. At the end of their certification and everything, their names are submitted to the ministry, and then the ministry now writes on their behalf for clearance from the Ministry of Finance. Until the clearance is given to the ministry to recruit them, the Ministry of Health cannot recruit them. Because if you recruit them, at the end of the month, you would have to pay them. Okay. And so if you're getting clearance to recruit them, then it means that if you recruit them, you will not be able to pay them at the end of the month. That does not mean that the Ministry of Finance is not working on their clearance. The Ministry of Health, the Director HR, and then the Ministry of Finance is in serious collaborations. Last Friday, I personally sat in a meeting to make sure that these clearances are worked on so that we'll be able to recruit this crop of physician assistants who had finished with their certification and everything. Okay. Currently, we just finished recruiting the diploma nurses for 2019 batch. We have the allied health workers that we are working on. We have the physician assistants that we are working on. And so it is not something that the ministry is leaving them behind. Okay. We are meeting their leadership on frequent basis. So this whole thing that happened this morning took us by surprise. Nobody informed us that they were coming to us.
Okay.
All right. That they came to badge on us with the police.
Okay. So we have to end it. But you mentioned a meeting in which you're working on their clearance. When is this clearance going to be given such that they can be employed? 5 years is enough a time for you to work on it, isn't it?
Yes. Over the period 5 years that we are talking about, there have been a number of issues that came in.
Anyway, I understand, but I'm asking that in this meeting you speak about, in the next 30 seconds, what was the outcome in terms of getting them employed?
There is the need for us to come back again to satisfy the list that we submitted to them.
Okay, all right.
So we are going back there next week, this Thursday, to meet the Minister of Finance again, so that we can take a concrete decision on when exactly we can get clearance, so that we pick this.
I'm grateful to you for joining us here. He speaks for Ghana's Health Ministry. Now, an inspector of the Ghana Police Service accused of using a service pistol to shoot and kill his girlfriend at a doom in Kumasi says he had no intention of killing his lover. Inspector Ahmed Chumesi, sobbing and shedding tears, told the Asokore Mampon District Court only God knows what happened on the day of the incident. He has been accused of shooting 26-year-old Victoria Dapa, also known as Majwa, multiple times in the abdomen and chest on April 20, 2023 at about 9:50 p.m. Police prosecution led by ACP Kofi Blagoji told the court the accused demanded a refund of 5,000 cedis he allegedly paid the deceased at a meeting in the presence of a female friend on the day of the shooting. There is more in the following report.
It was all tears in court as relatives of the deceased, identified as a mother of one 26-year-old Victoria Dapa, also known as Majwa, shed tears here at the Asokore Mampon District Court today. The accused person, an inspector of the Ghana Police Service, Ahmed Chumesi, also shed tears as he tried to provide answers as to why he killed his girlfriend, Majwa. Prosecution, led by ACP Kofi Blagoji, told the court at about 9:50 p.m. on 20th of April, the accused person in the company of another woman invited the deceased to a meeting to settle an issue between the two of them. The accused demanded a refund of 5,000 Ghana cedis he's paid to the deceased, but the deceased refused to refund the money. The accused pulled a service gun and shot the deceased several times in the abdomen and in the chest. After the act, he bolted until a specialized police effort led to the arrest of the accused person at his hideout at Sechere near Efijasi.
Na ye nima de property be wo no baye. Na me nna ma be hu so no anu muton aka se 50 million enti no aboni tuaku no. Na this massa 50 million pa just 5,000. Enti no chi nipa ne kwa afiri wiase. Ene ne ade ma nipa ensu eja papa. Eja say 5,000. Just 5,000. It wo boni petuo.
The accused person said he had no intention of killing his lover, but believes God knows whatever transpired between the two of them. ACP Kofi Blagoji told the court that he is personally appalled by the conduct of the accused person, taking into consideration his actions at the time that the Inspector General of Police is doing everything possible to carve a very good name for the police service. He assured the family that everything will be done to ensure justice is delivered. He prayed the court to remand the accused person into police custody to enable police conduct further investigations.
As a family member, I want to see that guy dead. That's simple.
Why do you want to go there? Because
we want to go there. We want to kept see in police whether it's itself or what.
From Asokore Mampon District Court here in Kumasi, for Joy News, my name is Ohime Interior.
Now, the acting medical director of the Kolebu Teaching Hospital, Dr. Harry Akoto, has re-emphasized the importance of malaria tests to be taken before any malaria medication, even if one feels the symptoms are similar to that of malaria. Now, Dr. Harry Akoto spoke when Bliss GVS, an Indian pharmaceutical company, donated anti-malaria medications worth 900,000 Ghana cedis to the hospital ahead of the malaria month. There is more in the following report.
Pharmaceutical Limited is an Indian company developing, manufacturing, and marketing high-quality pharmaceutical formulations at affordable prices for the global market. The donation of the anti-malaria drugs to the Kolebu Teaching Hospital is aimed at achieving a malaria-free Africa agenda of the company. Teresa Aduku is the medical rep of the company.
Bliss is a pharmaceutical company with worldwide presence. And for the past 3 years, we held a campaign and we are still holding a campaign, which is the Act for Africa campaign. And then this act is initiated towards creating a malaria-free continent here in Africa. I'm hopeful that with these drugs, we are going to achieve our aim. This donation is worth 900,000 Ghana cedis. Last year it was 120,000 Ghana cedis. What we say is that, one, we are grateful for them accepting our donation, and we are hoping that they are going to use the drugs. Some people, when you give them the drugs, it lies and then it expires, but we are hopeful that they are going to use the drugs to treat people with malaria incidents here in Ghana.
Acting Medical Director of the Kolebu Teaching Hospital, Dr. Harry Akoto, expressed gratitude to the company, indicating the product will beef up the fight against malaria.
This donation is very impactful. Why so is that we have World Malaria Day, which will be celebrated soon. You know, in Africa, one of the commonest diseases we face in our clinics is malaria. A lot of children die from malaria on a daily basis. And anything that we do to try and combat the incidence of malaria is very, very, very appreciated. And that is why this donation here today is very helpful. Why? During the World Malaria Day, we would have our public health experts who will go around the hospital and also in our neighborhoods, testing people for malaria. And once you test positive, they will give this free donation to you. What that means is that the pool of people who have malaria parasites in their blood will be reduced. So even if a mosquito bites you and the person they had bitten before they didn't have malaria, then you will not have malaria transmitted over to you. And so that is the impact it has. It is going to improve the health of people, and that means that they can have the strength to work and also make money. And so the general economy then benefits out of this donation. So it is a very good and impactful donation that they've just made.
He, however, re-emphasized the importance for malaria tests to be taken before any medication, even if one feels the symptoms similar to that of malaria.
You see, the headaches, there are 1,000 reasons why you can have a headache. Getting a fever or having a high temperature, even a common cold can give you a high temperature. So just because you have a fever, in Ghana, when people say, I have a fever, what they actually mean is, I have malaria. But the two are not synonymous, all right? So if your temperature goes up, you want to be able to do the test. And if it is positive, then you take the medication.
The product, worth 900,000 Ghana cedis, includes Lonart DS, Lonart 24 tabs, P-Alaxin tab, and POS, and many more. Prince Kwame Kudugas reports, read to you.
So time for us to bring you Showbiz, and Becky Bex, the most lovely, romantic, beautiful lady.
He's lying. He's lying. He was going to give me some other name, and then I said, "Don't do that because you know." So
Becky,
don't lie.
Oh,
I mean, don't sit on TV and
well,
lie.
I'm not lying. I mean, they know you're beautiful.
I know that.
You are romantic.
I'm not romantic.
Okay. You are loving.
I'm your favorite girl on TV. But Brace, this evening, let's talk about cues and lyrics. For those of you who don't know about it, the 12 contestants unveiled for the first season, Lavette, TM Music, Udane, Tigran emerged judges, favorite contestants. They thrilled viewers at the weekend. And of course, here is all you've missed.
You stay with me, 'cause you're all I need.
Hold up, let me break in. Sunday saw performance of the contestants for the first time on cues and lyrics. Contestants were put in groups of 4. The lover boys and girls lighted up the souls of the audience with their soothing voices.
Beautiful like diamond
Then came the the Energy Squad with swag and style.
Stay undercover, we keep it real, we know the fake 'em. Swear on my mama, see them, they talk them a mind, I know they hear, bury them, I wanna take her. Guinea, we the from Guinea, Guinea, we the from Guinea, Guinea, we the from Guinea.
Not forgetting the soul winners who took viewers to another realm. Different voices, amazing crafts, and unbeatable creativity. At the end of the episode, the Lover Boys and Girls won the heart of the judges. Make a date for more exciting episodes of Cues and Lyrics every Sunday at 8:30 p.m. only on Joy Prime.
Exactly.
And that'll be all for Showbiz here on Joy News Prime. There's more Showbiz news when you log on to myjoyline.com/entertainment. Please read something from there.
Okay, and that'll be all for the bulletin. There's more news on myjoyline.com. Thanks for your time. Prime Business is coming up with Beverly Broom. Good evening.